The HVAC apprentice reached into the faulty unit, one careless time too many. 1,000 volts tore through his chest. The world blazed white, then black. He opened his eyes to a Mesopotamian sun that had no mercy. A slaver's whip sliced across his back. He was in a teenager's body, branded and bound.
This isn't Nagoya. I died, and now I am a slave?
A guard spat that King Lugal was dying of heat stroke. Without him, the city would burn. The heat was a killer, but Ren remembered something from his old life.
Evaporative cooling, kunats, saltpeter dissolution. I can make ice in this hell.
The knowledge was his only weapon. Fail, and he dies a slave in the dust.
If I save the king, I can change everything. First, I need clay pots and saltpeter.
Ren scavenged handfuls of crystalline saltpeter from the foul waste pit before first light.
This is the key. With water and forced evaporation, it can pull heat from the air.
Using stolen clay pots, he gouged a shallow pit against the breeze side of the slave wall. He stacked the pots into a crooked wind tower, its open mouths angled to catch the merciless desert wind.
What madness is this, slave? You tamper with the god's own heat.
It is an offering of cool wind, holy one. The king suffers, and I seek to ease his torment.
If your sorcery fails, you will burn with the king's fever. The gods do not forgive.
Before Ren could answer, a palace runner burst into the compound. The king had stopped speaking. The royal physicians had begun the death rites. King Lugal lay motionless, his breath a faint rattle.
I have one night. If the saltpeter fails, this pit becomes my grave.
Under a sliver of moon, Ren poured the saltpeter into the clay pot and stirred with a broken reed.
Come on. Dissolve. Pull the heat from the water. You've done this 100 times in textbooks.
The water shivered. A skin of ice crackled across the surface, thin, fragile, but unmistakable.
It worked. Ice in the Bronze Age. I actually pulled it off.
The sight drew guards and slaves from their mats. Gasps, whispers, fingers pointed at the impossible cold.
Seize that demon. He has stolen the breath of the underworld and frozen it into blasphemy.
It's not sorcery. It's science. This can save the king. Let me prove it before you burn me.
Before the guards could move, a palace herald stumbled in, blood on his knees from running. The king's last breath rattled. The steward summoned the slave who claimed to command cold.
Now or never. If this small ice can't do it, nothing will.
Guards shoved Ren into the death-scented chamber. The king lay grave-faced on his funerary bed. Ren placed the chunk of ice on a bronze tray beside the pillow. A thin, cool vapor drifted downward. The air thickened with moisture. Lugal's cracked lips parted, and he drew a breath that was not a death rattle.
Cold. I taste cold. Is this the afterlife, or has a god entered my chamber?
Neither, my king. It's just frozen water. I can bring more, enough to cool this whole city.
You have saved my life, boy. I grant you the old wind temple and your freedom. Serve with this miracle.
Forgive me, great king, but men should not command the elements. This cold is a stolen fire of the gods.
The gods sent him to me, Enlil. I will not question their gift. You will not obstruct him.
That evening, Ren stood in a dusty, abandoned temple at the edge of the city, his workshop now.
I have a temple and my freedom, but Enlil wants my head. I need to scale this fast.
Ren converted the temple into a workshop, recruiting craftsmen to build cooling pits and wind towers near the granaries. The first large-scale test failed. The breeze was too weak, and the grain still rotted.
The wind tower must be taller, the evaporation surface bigger. I have to redesign the pit.
He adjusted the angles, doubled the pots, and lined the pit with soaked reeds. Success. Within weeks, the granaries were cool. Spoilage dropped, and Ur's surplus swelled. Foreign merchants traded silver for grain that never molded, and they whispered of the cold god.
Ammonia absorption, like old industrial fridges. I could make real cold.
In a hidden chamber, he tested ammonia vapor, sketching a cooling cycle on a clay tablet. A stranger in the market asked too many questions about the ice, then disappeared.
A spy. My miracles are being watched. I need to be ready.
Ren's guards seized the spy near the granary. Under torchlight, they brought him to his knees.
Ren's voice was ice. You serve Kish. Tell me the plan, or you'll taste cold deeper than any grave.
The spy broke, whispering of the silent knives who would infiltrate the temple and set it ablaze.
Ren, Enlil has been preaching against you all day. The crowd outside is calling for your blood.
In Kish, the rival king spat orders. The one who brought Ren's head would sit at his right hand.
We move when the moon is highest. No survivors.
Beneath the temple, Ren supervised the final pipes. Copper tubes snaked into sealed clay jars.
One crack of these jars, and the whole chamber flash freezes. I hope it never comes to that.
On the temple steps, a crowd knelt, chanting, "NC of cold." They defied the high priest's warnings.
They worship the cold, not me. This city will turn on a god if he fails.
While digging the ammonia chamber, a worker's shovel cracked against stone, a buried tablet.
This script is older than anything I've seen here. Not just cuneiform. These symbols feel deliberate.
I know that script. The temple archives hold a key. Shall I bring the translation?
Together, they deciphered the ancient lines. The tablet spoke of reborn ones who carry knowledge across worlds.
Reborn ones, like a soul from another world placed into this body. Could there be others like me?
Do you ever wake at night and feel this place is not meant for you? As if you are a puzzle piece forced into the wrong box?
She's asking too much. Her eyes say she knows something. Is she a reborn too, or a threat?
The tablet ended with a warning. Beware the reborn who remember, for they may bring fire or ice. That night, Ren tested the release mechanism. The chamber was ready. One pull would flash freeze any intruder.
A warning about reborn ones, a priestess who asks too much, and attracts too much, and a trap set for killers. This world is more dangerous than I imagined.
May found Ren in the shadowed garden, without a word. She knelt and drew a shape in the dust.
2 circles connected by a line. You call this a syringe. I call it proof that we died in the same century. Nagoya. Surumai Hospital. The power failed during my shift, and I woke here 5 years ago.
She said Nagoya, Surumai. That's 3 blocks from my apartment. She's real.
I know about the ammonia chamber. Let me help. 2 minds from the future are better than 1.
If this is a trick, I'll bury you in that chamber myself. But right now, I need every ally.
A bronze bell shattered the silence. A temple guard crashed through the hedge, sword drawn. Assassins at the east gate. They've already scaled the outer wall.
They're early. Get to the chamber. I'll seal the inner gates.
No more time for doubt. Trust her, or die alone.
In the torchlit chamber, Ren tightened the last jar. One crack would unleash a killing frost.
I'll seal the inner sanctuary. May the cold be with you, Ren.
In the moonlit courtyard, Ren waited with a single torch, listening for the scrape of bronze on stone from beyond the wall. Zababa and his silent knives vaulted over the eastern gate, landing without a sound, their curved swords black against the stars. Ren shouted a taunt into the darkness, then sprinted for the temple's inner doors.
You want my head? Come and freeze for it.
They pursued him into the stone corridor, boots thudding on ancient flagstones, the air growing thick with the acrid stench of ammonia. Ren threw his weight against the iron-bound door, sealing them inside with the frost-throated jars that had already begun to sweat icy mist.
The temple is sealed. Do it, Ren.
Ren's hand closed on the release lever. One pull would flash freeze every living thing beyond the door. Ren pulled the lever. Inside the chamber, clay jars shattered, releasing a cloud of freezing ammonia. The temperature plummeted. The assassins' screams strangled in their throats as ice crawled over their skin. Zababa lunged, but the frost caught him mid-stride. His face froze in a mask of rage and shock. When the hissing stopped, the chamber was a winter tomb. The silent, glassy statues no longer breathed. Ren unsealed the door. Cold vapor spilled into the corridor, and he saw the twisted, ice-clad forms.
May met him at the top of the stairs. Are they?
Ren nodded, unable to speak.
It's done. You are alive. May steadied him.
The temple fell silent. The only sound was the distant whisper of chants and the slow drip of melting ice.
I became a killer tonight, and they call me a god.
At dawn, temple guards dragged the frozen assassins into the palace courtyard. The crowd gasped at the glassy horrors. King Lugal stepped forward, his voice ringing across the silent square.
Behold the might of Ren, whom the gods themselves have blessed. He is our NC of cold, smiter of enemies with sacred frost.
High Priest Enlil, his power broken, bowed his head and backed into the shadows. The crowd erupted in worship, thousands dropping to their knees, chanting NC of cold. With fervor, Ren stood on the temple steps, his face haunted, but the people saw only a god.
This is too much fame. Every kingdom from here to the Euphrates will fear you now. We need to talk, alone. Tonight, there's more you must understand.
More secrets. First the tablet, now her past. What haven't you told me, May?
As the sun climbed, the worship grew louder, but Ren felt only the cold weight of what he had done. That night, in a chamber lit only by a single lamp, May pulled a slender cord from her robes.
This is my true keepsake. Surumai Hospital, Nagoya. I died there too.
She really was a patient. Same city, same century. We're the same kind of lost.
I've spent 5 years searching for anyone else with memories of the future. You are the first.
Are there more of us? The tablet mentioned reborn ones in plural.
I believe so, hidden across the land. Alone, we are curiosities. Together, we could steer the future.
She's talking about revolution, not just survival. A new dynasty of science.
I control Nippur's temple. Merge our two cities through a political marriage, and we could build a kingdom of reason.
Then let's shake on it, like we did in our other life. Partners.
The pact was sealed. Before dawn, they would petition King Lugal to unite their lands under a single cold crown. In the cool shadow of the throne room, Ren and May prostrated before King Lugal, their joint request heavy in the air.
Great King, I seek to bind the strength of with the wisdom of Nippur. Grant us your blessing to wed and unite the cities.
A bold request. The gods may frown on such a merging of temples and lands. How can I be sure this is not hubris?
Ren unveiled a polished bronze mirror and angled it toward a clay pot. Steam hissed as sunlight boiled the water without a single ember.
You have harnessed the sun as you harnessed the cold. Perhaps this union is blessed.
This is a perversion of the natural order. I will not sanction this mockery of the gods.
Enlil stormed from the hall, his robe snapping. The king did not call him back.
He's beaten. The old ways cannot stand against progress.
I decree the betrothal of Ren, Ensi of Cold, and May, priestess of Nippur. Let messengers carry this news to every corner of the land.
Messengers raced from the palace as the sun climbed, carrying the word of a new cold empire. The day of union blazed over Thousands packed the central plaza, a sea of linen and bronze. Petals rained as Ren and May walked the sacred path, hand in hand toward the twin thrones.
I crown you, Ensi of Cold, god of ice and wisdom, protector of Sumer.
A circle of silver was laid upon May's brow, and the crowd roared with a single voice. The chant shook the stones. Ensi of Cold, Queen May.
Now, the final seal. Let them see the frost.
Ren raised his hand, and from hidden vents, a shimmering veil of frost rolled down the ziggurat's face. The crowd fell to their knees, a wave of prostrate forms spreading from the plaza outward.
We did it. The future begins now.
And under the frozen shadow of the ziggurat, the Bronze Age's first scientific dynasty was born. The House of Frost opened, an academy where mathematics and the secrets of cold were taught to all. Ice houses appeared in every village, guarded by symbols of the Ensi of Cold. Ren stared at a clay tablet, bearing his own cuneiform, the cooling cycle that had remade the world.
From an apprentice who died on the job to a god of this age? What would my old sensei say?
May taught the priestesses the anatomy of the heart and the gift of clean hands. Students swelled, and the Twin Cities became the cold heart of a new Sumer.
We're not just surviving anymore. We're building a future no reborn has ever seen.
Look at them, Ren. They don't fear the winter, they celebrate it.
And we're only at the beginning. Together, we'll push this world into an age of reason.
So the god of cold and his queen gazed out over their kingdom, where science was sacred and the future frozen in hope. Alone in his chamber, Ren held a small plastic button, the last piece of his old life.
This tiny switch once killed me. Now it reminds me that death was only the beginning.
Memories flickered. The fatal spark, the first miracle ice, the frozen faces of the assassins.
But I am no longer that apprentice. I am the NC of Cold, and I am home.
The door opened. May entered without a word and sat beside him.
The stars are bright tonight. Do you ever miss the neon lights of Nagoya?
Sometimes, but I've found a purpose here that Nagoya never gave me.
Through the open window, the frost-covered ziggurat gleamed, a monument to their impossible journey. Ren smiled at peace at last. The camera pulled back as the image slowly faded to black. Dawn broke over the icy ziggurat, promising a future never before dreamed. The dream was disturbed before the frost could melt. A dust-choked messenger collapsed at the temple gate.
A coalition of 5 city-states has formed. They demand the secret of cold, or they will march on Sumer.
Spread the ammonia weapon to stop a war, or keep the secret and risk slaughter. Either choice leads to chains.
The council hall echoed with desperate arguments, but every path led back to the same frozen nightmare.
I will not unleash another frost that murders men in their skin. There must be another way.
Then, we give them a miracle that builds instead of destroys. Teach them the cold that preserves life, not the cold that takes it.
An impossible gamble. Send envoys with ice, not swords, and show the world that winter could be a gift.
If we fail, Sumer burns. May, you will stay and protect the city. I will go alone.
The god of cold set out into the desert, carrying not a weapon, but a promise. The future of Sumer rested on a melting block of ice, and somewhere beyond the dunes, the reborn fire of another age was already waiting. The caravan halted at the coalition camp. A single figure stood before a bonfire that leaped unlike any natural flame.
That fire, it dances with intent, not chance. This is another reborn.
The figure turned. A woman with bright, knowing eyes and a pendant that glowed like embers. She drew a pattern in the sand that Ren knew from 1,000 textbooks, the schematic of a simple steam engine.
You are like us, from the same world. I have ice. Let me show you. We don't need to burn each other.
He placed the ice before her. The fire hissed but did not attack. The fire priestess spoke in heavily accented Sumerian, her anger thawing. You bring winter without death by dawn. The coalition honored a pact. Cold and fire, knowledge shared, not hoarded. Ren returned to not with a sword, but with a new ally, and the certainty of a world wider than he imagined. The reborn fire of another age had not brought war, but the beginning of a strange and necessary alliance. Ren's caravan entered to a thunderous welcome, the fire priestess riding beside him. The people threw flowers at the wheels.
You did it. You actually did it.
The fire priestess knelt and offered a sacred treaty. Fire would warm the schools, ice would cool the sick. Her voice crackled like embers.
With this pact, the age of fear ends. The reborn shall lead us into a new dawn of wisdom and frost.
From a faulty AC unit to uniting nations. This is the future I never knew I could build. A path I'd never have walked if I hadn't died.
The reborn are no longer hiding in the shadows. We are the foundation of a new world.
Engineers mingled with fire priests, and soon steam-driven pumps fed the ice houses of the Euphrates, cooling the granaries of a dozen cities. The map of Sumer expanded, dotted with symbols of cold and heat, a league of reason.
I invented refrigeration to save one dying king. Now it's remaking the entire world.
And in the heart of the The god of cold watched the sun rise on an age he had frozen into being. His queen beside him, Ren's name swept through the Euphrates like a cold wind. Every tribe now knew the Ensi of Cold had tamed the fireborn and given winter to the world. In Ur, craftsmen raised a second temple, its columns carved from frozen stone, its altar a perpetual block of ice.
They're building monuments while you still think like an apprentice. You never stopped being that curious boy from Nagoya.
No, I didn't. I am still fixing broken AC units, just with ice and gods and empires.
The fire priestess returned with word that every city on the Gulf had embraced the pact. Coalitions dissolved into trade leagues.
The old gods weep with envy. I proclaim Ren the eternal guardian of this age, priest and king, cold and wisdom made flesh.
The city erupted in chanting, louder than the day he first made ice. Ensi of Cold. Ensi of Cold.
They see a god. I see the same hands that once couldn't save myself from a live wire.
Perhaps that's the point. A god who remembers being broken is a god who can heal.
And the broken apprentice who once knelt in a slave's dust now stood at the summit of the world, his winter spreading peace instead of death. Ren stood on the highest terrace of the ice temple, the wind gentle and cool, and looked upon a world he had forever altered.
The stars are the same as Nagoya. Different world, same sky.
I used to think I was trapped here. Now I know I was sent.
He thought of the slave pit, the first miracle ice, the frozen assassins, not with regret, but with wonder at the distance they had traveled. May took his hand, her fingers warm despite the cool air.
No matter what centuries pass, I will find you in every life.
And I will always bring the cold.
Behind them, the ziggurat's frost shimmered, a beacon of light and cold that could be seen for 100 parasangs. And in that moment, the god of cold was simply Ren, an apprentice who had learned that the greatest miracle was not ice, but hope. The camera pulled back, the ziggurat's frozen peak piercing the dawn sky, and the image slowly faded to white. In the ages that followed, children of Sumer chased one another with chunks of ice. Their laughter, a song of winter's gift. Scribes carved the saga of the Ensi of Cold into clay, how a slave brought ice to the desert and wisdom to kings. Ren and May grew old upon the temple terrace, their hair silvered, but their eyes still bright with the fire of the reborn. The frost upon the ziggurat never melted, a perpetual monument to the impossible. Pilgrims traveled from across the Euphrates just to touch the cold stone.
I was just an apprentice who reached into the wrong machine. And because of that, the world learned to dream of winter.
And the world is better for it. Now, stop brooding and come watch the sunrise. Even a god should rest.
Together, they watched the sun climb over the frozen peak, the light spilling across the city like a promise. And when the time came for the Ensi of Cold to set down his mortal crown, he did not vanish. He became the cold itself, a presence in every icehouse, a whisper in every winter breeze. The dynasty of frost endured for 1,000 years, and the name of Ren was never forgotten, for every child who tasted ice on a burning day spoke it as a prayer. And finally, the image pulled back one last time, leaving only the cold, quiet ziggurat against the endless sky, a monument to the man who died, then lived, then forever changed the world.